call this meeting to order and ask that everyone stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I would like a motion to approve the minutes of the February 2nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education. Lori?
Second.
And Lynn? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, I would like to invite Lynn from Orange and also Proceeds to come up and present their administrative budget.
So welcome and thank you for being here this evening. I'm guessing we're among the first, if not the first district we've had.
The first
District you had the opportunity to share your budget. So want to certainly welcome Deborah and Carrie, but it's also, I believe, that Martha Beauregard and David Eaton here as well on the Board of Education in Orange and So certainly very important partners and supporters of our school district. So we're happy to see you here this evening.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for those introductions.
And congratulations to both of you. This is the first time you've been with us since Deborah had us being the new superintendent, or chief operating officer rather. I apologize. And Carrie Stroga being the deputy superintendent. So congratulations in your new roles, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And we're thrilled to be here tonight. Happy that you're able to take the time in here. But I know it's a very busy agenda, as I'm sure Tim is getting a little brief for a few minutes on talking about budget, right? And so we handed out to our budget newsletter. On the first page of the budget newsletter is a lovely letter from our board president. Thank you for that. We hope you'll have time to look that over. Maybe not tonight, but at a later date. And then on the second page starts our administrative budget. And I always start off this presentation with just a short reminder of what the BOCES budget looks like. That's a little bit different from a component district. So we have different sections of our budget, as opposed to a component school board has a budget, one large budget. So ours is broken down to admin, rental, capital, and programs. So the program budgets are all the services that you purchase from Orange Ulster BOCES, or other BOCES for that matter. So you choose and decide how many students you're going to send to us for special education versus how many you're going to keep at home or send elsewhere. You choose how many students are going to come to CTE with us, or how many are going to stay right here in the Warwick School District and take CTE courses here. So you choose all those programs, including any of the management services. We share a wonderful photographer in Tom Bushy as a shared service with BOCES. So all of those other programs are your choice, and you decide how much you're going to purchase each year. The admin, rental, and capital portion of our budget is divided among all of our districts. So there's not a choice in those, that you're in the club, as we say a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and once you're in the club, then everybody pays their fair share. So the piece of the admin, rental, capital that is voted on by the component school boards is the administrative budget. And that's in front of you on the left-hand side of the second page. So the administrative budget is very similar to every component school district budget's first couple pages of your budget. It's the central office, it's the administration codes. So it would cover the office of the superintendent and the business office and human resources and the folks that make up those offices, and then supplies and equipment that goes along with it. So you'll see up on the left there, we've shared with you the FTEs in our central admin budget. Currently, we're proposing for next year's budget 2.6 administrative personnel and 12.77. So right off the bat, we don't have pieces of people that we employ. They're full people, so there's 4 of us in central office. 2.6 of those FTEs are attributable to the admin budget because we all supervise other programs. So pieces of my salary benefits are budgeted and programmed just like Carrie and just like Mark Coleman, our new assistant superintendent. The The one that is different is the district superintendent. By regulation, that entire salary and benefits need to be budgeted in the admin budget. And you'll notice that that's a new position for us going into next year, that we haven't had a district superintendent in the past couple of years. We were very happy functioning with 3 people, and the state of New York, the commissioner, had very directly shared with us that we needed to hire a district superintendent. That person, although Bill Hecht had been serving that role in conjunction, doing a piece of it at least, right? Maybe not getting to every meeting, but doing the bulk of it. She wanted a designated person, and that person does a lot of work with the commissioner of the state education department. So we did follow that directive, and she gave us until January 1st of this school year to have a person in place, and we have that person. And Tom Bon Jovi, who's a retired superintendent from the Highland School District, previously in Port Jervis, and he is filling that role. So that gets us to the 2.6. You'll notice on the FTEs, I lessened the amount that's going to be budgeted for Carrie and I and Mark for very obvious reasons. Carrie and I do a lot of work with our programs, leading our programs, and Tom is now going to be full in admin, so we put him fully in admin, and a little less of us in admin and more in program that will have that time to do that. And Mark Coleman is actually a shift down to 40%, because as you know, we have a large capital project ahead of us, and he was our director of operations. He's now our assistant superintendent of finance, and he will spend quite a bit of his time managing that project. So it's appropriate to budget more in that area. So then you can move down to the dollars under expenditures, and you'll see salaries, equipment, supplies, contractual expenses, all very similar items that you have in your budgets. We broke out the benefits for you over to the right, top right, so you can see that that's a large number, so we broke that down. And then under contractual, I just want to point out that's a large increase, $461,668,000. And I exactly say that is solely due to the increased interest rates for our revenue anticipation note. So we borrow new cash flow because we don't receive any cash to pay our bills until sometime in October. So we have to fund the cost of summer school all summer for all the districts that send students. We then send you a bill, as Tim knows, we do a 1/10 billing, so we take everything that you signed up for to buy, we add all that up, we divide it by 10, and that's your bill each month, with obvious adjustments as you add or delete services. So therefore, we do borrowing for our cash flow, and those interest rates with the economy the way it is drastically different than it used to be. So that's causing for that increase. And then we move on to internal postal charges. So that's a little bit different than an item you might have in your budget. So internal postal charges for us is us billing each other in our departments. So no different than you buy our risk management service, we buy it too. We buy it in the admin budget so that we're paying our share of that budget. So instead of cutting ourselves a check, we do an internal postal charge. So that number is comprised of our cooperative purchasing poster, operations and maintenance, printing, risk management, tech services, all similar items that you buy from us. The next line is the post-acquired retirement health insurance. As you've heard me talk about in years past, at BOCES, it's mandated by regulation from the state that all retirement health benefits are paid out of this one budget. So if you were to work in Orange Ultra BOCES for the last 30 years, in special education, your salary and your benefits would be paid out of the COSER, cooperative service, the budget of the program that you work in. But once you retire, that expense is moved to the admin budget. I don't love it, I'll be honest with you, because it's a very large expense of a program that has 15.37 people in it and puts 562 retirees' health benefits in one place. And it was decided on years ago, and it makes sense from an accounting standpoint. Because if you work in our program for the last 30 years, and then retire, and that program went away, that happens, right? We have a new idea for something, the old program's not running, where would we pay that retirement benefit for our folks? So it makes sense accounting-wise to have it all in one place in the admin budget. And so that puts our admin budget at a total of $9,024,000. And then we reduce from that miscellaneous administrative fees. And I have increased that number. I've taken a very long look at over several years that have those revenues to offset what you'll pay into. It's no different than you using a piece of your fund balance to reduce the tax levy, so I like to compare it to. So when I would tell you, those administrative fees come from basically two areas. One is the administrative fees that we charge the Newburgh City School District. The Newburgh City School District is not a component district of ours. They don't pay directly, and I use that word carefully, they don't pay directly for this administrative budget. They're not divided, they're not ones divided among who's going to pay their share, because they're not a component. So we add an additional 13% to their bill, so that there's a piece of what they're paying attributable to the admin budget. And then the other piece that goes along with that is the administrative charge that we bill to districts outside our component area, or outside of Warwick BOCES. So students that we have coming from Kingston or Monticello, out of the area, they pay a 9% upcharge, if you will. No different than if you were to send a student to Southern BOCES, you would be charged an extra 9%. So we have an agreement among the 4 BOCES in our region that we will all use the same 9% so that it's fair back and forth. We don't get a little crazy trying to solve our budget issues by just increasing that. We're trying to be fair to everybody. So when you net all of that out, our administrative allocation to our school district is a change of 2.89%. Any questions up to that point? I know it's riveting. Yes.
On the other contractual expenses, this is like a 45% increase. Could we get a break? Could you folks provide us with a breakdown
Sure.
of all of that?
Absolutely. I can send it over to you.
Appreciate it. Also, on the central administration, now without you having like a superintendent for the last couple of years, wasn't the chief operating officer then like created in order to take care of that position?
Mr. Heck's title was changed from district superintendent to chief operating officer.
Correct. So in a sense, it almost seems like we're doubling up here.
So there has
By
been a
adding
change. That's
superintendent,
true.
wouldn't you then be eliminating the chief operating officer?
That hasn't been the direction that our board chose to go in. Years ago, we did have 4 people in central office, and it's been a
Right.
hardship to not have that since, to be honest with you.
Correct, but it just,
So if I could just clarify a little bit, who was covering as district superintendent when Mr. Hecht was the chief operating officer?
Right.
Actually, the state had Dr. Corey, who was the district superintendent for Ulster BOCES, was taking on the role of district superintendent for our BOCES while we did not have a DS. That's the responsibility of a DS in another BOCES to cover when a certain BOCES doesn't have a district superintendent. So Dr. Corey attended the state meetings on behalf of Orange BOCES and did those functions until the commissioner told us Dr. Corey is no longer going to cover for Orange BOCES and you need to have your own district superintendent to cover those responsibilities.
correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, I mean, you folks created the chief operating officer because you didn't have a superintendent. So, I mean, you know, I'm in a position here of looking at this budget of, you know, with the gigantic bond issue that got passed, all school districts, I don't feel like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul here with that bond issue. And all school districts here in Orange County are really scrambling because of the big hit that, you know, we have on us now to cover that bond issue. In a sense, like most school districts in Orange County are going to have to make cuts in order to cover for that bond issue. So to, you know, present us with a budget that's not taking that into consideration, I'm just saying I'm not happy about that. So I'm expressing my view when it comes time for the board, you know, to say what we're going to do with the BOCES budget. I'm like, no. To me, this is doubling up this chief operating officer. So I'm just expressing my opinion. when we were presented with that bond issue, I mean, it was so excessive. I think we felt here on the board, there's no way that the public is going to pass that, and that you folks will come back to us with something that was more reasonable. We were totally surprised that it got passed. The publicity on it was minimal. The number of people who voted for it was minimal. So anyway, so you've put all the school districts in Orange County in a precarious position with what we have to pay on this. So
I appreciate your thoughts.
those are my thoughts, and the board members who voted for that bond issue, even though I know them for many years, I'm not supporting any board member that voted on that bill. And, it's like, I would like to see more board members who happen to be current members of their own school district boards, so that they realize what, the effect that these kind of things have on our districts. So, I don't know if anyone else has any.
Well, my comment is more on the chief operating officer position, because prior to Bill having taken that position, there wasn't a chief operating officer position, so he was the district superintendent, and going all the way back to when Terry Olivo, I believe, was the chief operating officer, had the dual role. So there was no chief operating officer after he retired. Bill Hackett was the superintendent and moved into the chief operating officer role. And to Bob's point, given the current economic environment, current rate of inflation, and coming overhead that we are going to have as a county and as a school district and a BOCES, adding that additional person, this may not be the right time for that.
Deborah, because the position requires some oversight interaction with the New York State Education Department, a considerable part of that role, I believe, some of that is picked up. The cost is picked up by the state.
Yes, the state covers $43,000 of the salary.
$43,000. Okay.
And that, they haven't changed that in forever.
That number's been the same.
I can't think when that was changed.
But they did change the district superintendent, the BOCES superintendent's salaries. We did advocate for that.
That's correct.
That black, and we supported that.
Yeah.
So so the gap between.
You're absolutely correct.
So the
They
gap.
removed the cap, but they did increase.
They did increase the cap.
The limit.
Exactly, so that $43,000 hasn't increased at all, but yet the salary has, because the cap increased, so therefore the districts have to bear more of the burden of the district superintendent's salary.
That's correct.
And has there been discussion, are you aware at the state level of giving consideration to picking up more? Or?
At this point, I believe there's no discussion of it. I haven't heard any in a very long time.
Okay, continue.
Okay, thank you. So on the pullout page, you'll see that we did share a few success stories from our families in regard to some of our students. We do have a highlight here of a Warwick student from a very, very supportive mom, Carrie Fenton-Foley, who shared, every time we run into her, she shares her story. Her son is thoroughly enjoying his time in our aviation program. So she's very thankful to the Warwick District for that. We shared that story with several others. Feel free to peruse those when you get a chance. On the third page of the actual booklet part, we do reference the capital project that you spoke of. And that capital project amount, the yellow bar going across, $6,386,000. That's the first payment that's coming up this year. And I know that Mark Coleman has been chatting with our business officials at all those meetings, and that because of the way the program will roll out, not all the expense happens at once, so that dollar amount is being stepped into until it's fully funded, then over the 20 years. So I think it's by year 3 or 4, it's the full amount. The first 2 years are a lesser amount because you don't need the cash until some of the projects are rolled out. And then on the bottom of that page is our rental budget. And as you know, that has changed with Warwick over recent years. We used to be the Sanderville building, and now we are fully enjoying the Pine Island space. And we're up and running there, and I'm going to reference Tim one more time. He's been a great help making that all work for everybody, because there's a lot of moving pieces when you take over an entire building, from the security to the technology, and Tim's been instrumental in making that work for our program there. That's been a great success, and it's a great building. It's a great building. So
Yeah, we certainly appreciate your interest in having returned to more or less a full-time school.
and you certainly had it in great shape for all that you did during the pandemic to be able to utilize that space. So it was great, and we're thoroughly enjoying that.
Ditto on our end.
And then on the back page is literally reiterating those dollar amounts again. This portrayal of it is breaking it down by district. That's based on our WADA. So resident weighted average daily attendance is the methodology prescribed by the state that we need to utilize in order to allocate each district share. So an average daily attendance in Monroe Woodbury would be much larger than an average daily attendance in Tuxedo, thereby bigger districts paying a bigger proportion, smaller districts paying a smaller portion. Any questions?
Do you have numbers of enrollment?
Excuse me?
The enrollment of total enrollment programs in BOCES?
So we can give you an enrollment.
Yeah, because I asked for that last year, so I would have assumed that we would have that.
And enrollment by program, and enrollment
That
by
would be
district,
wonderful,
by program.
enrollment by program and total enrollment and how it's, say, trended over the last 5 years.
We can certainly do that for you.
Great.
And I'm thinking we would provide that for you for special education and career tech, right? Because who subscribes to all the other programs does ebb and flow quite a bit, but those are the two tuition-based, if that makes sense. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You know where we are.
You know where to ask questions.
Any questions that are follow-up, please reach out through Tim or David, or you know where we are, and we're happy to answer all your questions and come back at any time that you might have additional.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best to you through your process.
Okay, moving on. I'd like to open it up to comments on the agenda items only. Any member of the public wishing to address the board or ask a sign at the table at this time. No comments on agenda items. Follow up. Moving on to consent agenda, I would like a motion to accept, approve, or authorize the consent agenda items as they appear on the agenda.
So moved.
Bob and Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Leach right now for reports from the administration.
Absolutely. So, welcome everyone. And this evening, in addition to taking a quick look at some student achievement data, a brief budget update, we have been holding quite a few budget meetings and work sessions now, where we certainly dig deeper into the budget process. Tonight, just a review, and then again, we'll review a little bit of student achievement data with the idea of a more thorough look at our school district report card in the future, the near future. And then lastly, I have some of my colleagues, in addition to Megan, who will present the student achievement data, some of my colleagues in each building will provide the board with a very brief update of how things are going from the perspective of curriculum, instruction, extracurricular programming activities, etc. So thus far, we've had, let's see if here somewhere. We've had a few meetings now. We're actually have about 4 or 5 presentations, which really range from a review of what the budget process looks like for our school district or a component district, which is different than what Deborah Happus was certainly just sharing, and also a look at our demographic study and our enrollment, and what those trends look like, and how that can impact the budget process. We also waited for updates on revenue, particular interest us was state aid. We reviewed a little bit what the governor's proposal is and what the potential increases in foundation aid and what that means to public school districts, and particularly obviously to Warwick District. And we've been sharing a little bit of that with us as we move through the process. We've done a little bit, We've done a little bit of a review of the revenue review of what it looks like in terms of generating revenue for school district from the tax levy to non-tax sources, to state aid, et cetera. This takes a look at the last decade and looking at what the increases were to the levy and what the, at times, the districts awarded aid to forego going up to the allowable increase in the levy. So if you look at from 2013 to today, not compounding, but simply each year, but saving what the board decided to eventually go out and a budget proposition to the community, those numbers look like. So as you can see, since 2013, the actual levy increase has been closer to 1.5. The allowable increase has been close to 2, and thus far about 2 million over that time. Again, not counting the 2 million in terms of total revenue. The board has decided to reduce the levy. We've talked in depth during our revenue discussions exactly what that process looked like. So that's about 7 out of 10 years that the board has made that decision. Looking at it for illustration purposes this year, so the previous 2 budgets, there was no increase in the levy and there was a reduction in the levy last year. This year, the tax cap formula would permit this district to have an allowable increase of 4.47% with a simple majority vote. I certainly understand that the board is looking to reduce that burden. So thus far, preliminary discussions for demonstration purposes, some of the discussions we've had at 3 7/400%, moving down to that, we'd be looking at just about almost $500,000 for a reduction to the levy increase. During those discussions throughout the presentations, we talked about the combined wealth ratio. We looked at the percentage of revenue coming from state aid versus non-tax sources versus the levy. We talked about throughout this time period how the revenue from non-tax sources was critical, and during that time it's primarily tuition from students at our high school, students who the vast majority of attend Green Lake for K-8, and what that really meant to the district during the time when you were averaging about 1.5% increase in taxes during that time span. So that was important as the district looked during that time to really expand and increase opportunities for kids. And I think throughout the years, it's important for all of us and remind the board of programmatically what's happened and what the investment's been in the school. So, as you know, take for example the high school. We are now offering students to enroll in 6 courses per semester, or throughout their years, 8 courses. So when you expand those opportunities and you have a schedule, I believe there's no high school in our region that students can take more courses than they can in Warwick. But of course that comes at an expense in terms of staffing, in terms of programming, et cetera. But it's one where I think it served our students well. And we'll look at a few minutes at their student achievement results during that time period. And I know I've spoken to many parents and many students who have benefited from graduating with many college credits, or who've expanded their opportunities in career and technical education, a program that did not exist in the district just a few years ago, or the plethora of college credits that are available, the relationship with Project Lead the Way, the relationship with SUNY Albany, St. Cloud University, the list goes on and on. So that's been, I think it's important to know just review for you a little bit about how the students have been performing on the traditional measures. You know, we often talk in our school district about a balanced assessment plan, so not placing too much emphasis on standardized testing, whether that's the testing that takes place at the elementary level, which begins in third grade, really on up until graduation. But nevertheless, it is something to look at as part of our balanced assessment plan in terms of how students are performing on those traditional measures, in addition to graduation rates and et cetera. So this is taking a look at the last time all the regions and grade 8 testing was given to our students and how they performed in our region on those assessments.
Thanks, Dr. Leach. So as David said, this is just one area that we look at for student achievement. Obviously, we don't focus solely on standardized assessment results, but when we do look at the data I'm going to share with you this evening, it's an area where we should all be considerably proud of our students, our teachers, and our community at large, because our students traditionally do perform at the highest level in Orange County. So this data that I'm sharing with you tonight, historically speaking, is very similar if we were to, look longitudinally at that. So just a quick review for those of us that aren't always thinking about state assessments. Grades 3 through 8, the assessments are given annually. They're given in both math and ELA, English Language Arts. They're given in the spring, so ELA is in April, math is in May. And those are exams that are really geared at making sure that students are hitting the learning targets that are set out at their grade level. All students are eligible to take that exam. So what you're seeing here is that when we look at all of the other districts in Orange County, our students in grades 3 through 8 perform first in the county. So their scores are number one. So that's definitely an area that, again, we should be not only proud of, but when we take a look at that, we think about what leads into that sort of performance result. So a balance of literacy plan is important. You're looking at, the tremendous resources that our teachers have, in their classroom. This board has always supported classroom libraries. We've committed, to having literacy become a huge focus, especially at that elementary level. And you can see that the results are certainly matching the effort that we want students and our teachers are putting forth. In terms of mathematics, like I said, we'll go back and forth in 3 through 8 math, whether we're first or second, throughout Orange County. The last testing window, which was last school year, obviously we don't have this year's data yet, we did stack up second in the region. Keep in mind too, when I start talking about high school data, our 8th grade accelerated students in mathematics take the algebra regions, so they don't participate in the 8th grade assessment in math. We don't double test our students. We've always felt very strongly about that, so their data is included in the algebra results, not in the 3 through 8 testing. The 3 through 8 testing has also kind of evolved over the years. So for those of you that might have had elementary students 10 years ago, it was a 3-day testing period. It was longer. The state has really done considerable work to make that shorter. It's less of a burden on students. They are on time now. So it really is geared at helping students to demonstrate their knowledge and mastery of the learning standards in the areas. And again, we feel really confident that our students will be prepared and that they do the best that they can. So we're very proud of them when we see results like this. The next set of data speaks of the Regents examinations, which other than the two I'll tell you about are for our high school. So in case you don't know, New York State outlines that students have to take and pass 5 different Regents examinations in order to earn a Regents diploma. So they have to have a math Regents, and Principal Fusco and I were mildly debating because it could be any area. It is most commonly algebra, but it could be in geometry or algebra too. So 1 math Regents, science Regents in any one of the science areas, global history, U.S. history, are the 5, and English language arts are the 5 that students need to take and pass. And again, the pattern holds when we look at our high school achievement data. We are number 1 in the county for algebra. That includes our 8th graders. So you're looking at our students performing again at the highest level. Our geometry results are also first in the county. And I know we're going to do a later presentation, we're going to take a much better look, but our geometry results are exceptional. They rank some of the highest actually across the state of New York. And that's a considerable point of pride for us. Algebra 2, which is the advanced regions in algebra, is the second series. Our students also perform first in the county. The environment, which also has a laboratory component, as with earth science and chemistry. Our students, again, are second in the region. Earth science, you'll see that is what our 8th grade accelerated science students take. So they'll take the Regents exam in 8th grade. That's also included in that data set. So we're first in the county for that, as well as chemistry. And for those of you that have been on the board for a while, we weren't always achieving results in chemistry. And the high school and the team really took a very hard look at why was that. And they made some changes just in terms of practices and how the units stacked up, and obviously we made significant success with that. Global history, we're currently 3rd in the county, and that test has undergone some pretty significant changes over the few years. It's gone from a 2-year cumulative exam to a 1-year exam. And our social studies teachers are very much taking a look at best practices for having students be able to achieve high scores on that test. So physics is slightly misleading, so there's an asterisk there. So it appears because we have over 100 students that sit for the physics regions. That's a considerable number. That's actually more than any other district in the county by far. And the other 4 districts that are ahead of us have a combined 153 students. So why do I bring that point up? I bring that point up because we believe in providing all students pathways. So it's important that if a student demonstrates a desire to take a Regents level course, as a junior or senior in high school, that they are afforded the opportunity to not only take that course, but to sit for the Regents examination. We're willing to take, if we're 6th in the region, but we have 101 students, and kids do take that as kind of a source of pride when they get to sit for the test. So we take a look at the physics data kind of through 2 different lenses. Again, our results speak for themselves. Our students work hard. Our teachers are actively engaged to get into the best possible opportunities. So this is something we should all be very, very proud of. It's one component, as Dr. Leach said, but it's always good to celebrate the good ones, right? Thank you.
And with that said, we're very excited about the prospect of New York State opening up more pathways to graduation. New York State right now is actively considering what changes could take place at a high school level in terms of graduation requirements and maybe providing even more options for students. And whether it was during our tri-state work or even a few years ago, this board spoke about that, and really in our opinion, in order to really aggressively go after those portrait of graduate goals and dispositions and attributes, etc., we want to go beyond a Regents exam and really become even more project-based, so we can truly make sure that these students are prepared for the future. But these are some traditional measures to look at. Certainly not the time to be complacent. And when we take a look at our school report card, we'll not only dig a little deeper into these numbers, but look at areas of opportunity for us for growth, look at AP data, look at how subgroups are performing, how our special education students are performing, for example, to ensure that we really do a much more thorough analysis. It's just certainly a reminder of how we fare, at least on these traditional measures that we all hear about. And this considers, this does not include any district that has a very small cohort taking an exam. These are all districts with at least 800 students included. So coming up, our work session in March, that's where we devote significant time to further digging into the budget process. We'll have an update on revenues and expenses there for the next 2 meetings before we move into any adoption of a budget or property tax report or any public hearing, etc. So a reminder to everyone, on our website, on the Board of Education budget section, you'll find every presentation, particularly the work sessions. You'll have the articles written about each work session, what was discussed, quotes, etc., as well as the PowerPoints. so that folks who have questions that can't be here can at least have another tool to look at as you move through this budget process. And ultimately, in April, we mail out a newsletter. We'll provide a synopsis, a snapshot, as well as a way for them, remind them of folks to link back to the website for more information. So this time, any other point that maybe, I don't know if you remember was present last meeting, perhaps, but the other point that we talked about during enrollment, we no longer have declining enrollment as a balancing tool through the budget process. So, as you know, particularly 8 years ago, 7, 9, that period of time, when you have the declining enrollment, and whether it's positions through attrition or other reductions that can be made, we're one of the very few school districts in our region, and quite frankly in the state, that actually has grown during the past few years outside of the small city school districts that is. There's some, but very few. And that's something I know we're all excited about and happy about, but in terms of a budget perspective, it hasn't been. We no longer have that as a balancing tool to make reductions, but receiving our foundation aid back for the first time ever, many of us sat around this table when the gap elimination adjustment was implemented during Governor Patterson's term, and that was really a bad situation for the public school districts, especially those that are heavily relying upon state aid as a revenue, but us as well. So to have foundation aid fully funded, it's about time, we're fortunate to do so, and shift a little bit more of the burden on the state aid side. I understand it's all tax dollars, nevertheless, the state aid side versus on the shoulders of the local taxpayers is welcome, especially in districts with our wealth index and how the state calculates that aid. So at this time, I'm going to ask if some of my colleagues, and we'll begin with the elementary level, could just provide more of an update for a few minutes on what's happening in each division in terms of curriculum, instruction, and programs. Thank you.
So Mr. Benares and I figured that we would speak together to talk about our two schools since we do so many of our activities together. So January and February are quite busy on the elementary level, and one of the highlights through January was our STEP fair. So both schools had their STEP fair on the evening of January 18th. Dozens of our students put together and created projects that used our engineering design process to solve real-world problems. And through the process, it included the ask, the imagine, the plan, the create, and the improvement steps to problem solving. And our students were really excited to fill the hallways with their projects and do their presentation to families and friends and high school student judges that joined us. So we have a large group of our students that have been selected to move on and present their projects at the district STEP fair in May. So we're excited about that.
So before our kindergarten students get the opportunity to contribute to some of that awesome data that we just saw, demonstrating physics and all that high-level stuff, they have to learn about double letter sounds and digraphs, which is what they're doing right now at both schools. They're boosting the reading power unit. And they're wrapping up their narrative writing through stories as well. And you'll see a common theme here throughout the grades where the reading and writing are integrated. First graders are finishing their nonfiction units. They're learning about identifying different text features, such as table of contents, glossaries, and so forth, and which those features help them understand the text much more. And they're incorporating those skills in their writing as they write about topics such as animals, their habitats, their diets, and so forth. And also learning about the community helpers as well, too. Second grade students are wrapping up their nonfiction, reading, and writing units by completing their experts books and team topic posters. And this unit really helped our students establish the ability to pay attention to details as they cultivated an expertise in a specific area. Other second grade classes, and because there's a little bit of a difference in pacing between the buildings and also within the buildings as well. Some classes are wrapping up, as others are starting their unit. And the next unit in second grade is tackling new words in longer books, which is an awesome way for our second grade students to learn experientially as they bundle books together based on authors and themes, topics, into what they're calling wish bins, and organizing those in their libraries, their classroom libraries. It's a pretty cool opportunity for kids to be sort of a librarian. Third graders are reading narrative nonfiction and fiction texts and analyzing crafts that authors use. They're learning how to highlight characters' different perspectives, identifying problems, corresponding solutions. They're discussing how these texts are organized. And I think this is one of the things, as I was reading this, this is where you start to get into the really huge opportunities for good discussion. Not only about really encoding books and comprehending what you're reading, but also having really good discussions about the text as well too. And third grade students also are showing off their skills as they're adapting different fairy tale books, their own adaptations of classical fairy tale books. Fourth grade students are engaged in reading like a fan unit. These are awesome titles, aren't they? Where they are completing an author study work and book clubs. So kids are organizing different books and different groups, looking at authors or different themes, and just really talking a lot about, again, discussing about those books, common features, differences, characters, and so forth. And then Pi, this is where I will talk about that.
Sure, our Pi students, or our Pi K students, are just wrapping up their winter snow unit with a perfect culmination of actual snow this week, so that's wonderful. Students have been practicing their super reader powers with snow-themed books. They're writing about snow and winter topics, studying about what makes snow and how does snow happen, and climate, and learning how snow affects people in different communities. Our Pi 1-2 classes are just beginning their very interesting animal adaptation units, where students will research different animals, their habitats, and how adaptations help them survive in their environments. And they'll actually get the opportunity to create their own new animal and how they will survive in these environments. So students will design a presentation with their group and be able to perform that presentation for their classmates and families and invited visitors. So they look forward to those creative presentations. And then our Pi 3-4 students are studying world cultures and comparing the United States, Brazil, and Kenya. And currently they're engaged in writing petitions about deforestation in Brazil and the water shortage in Kenya. And one of the classes even had the opportunity to do a Google Meet with a grandfather who lived in Kenya for many years and was able to share his knowledge and share pictures and videos that he had from his time in Kenya that the students really enjoyed.
So Odyssey of the Mind teams at both schools are getting ready for this weekend's Region 5 tournament at BOCES. So good luck to all those participating. Our LEGO teams are working on their challenges to present in late March and early April. And the theme there is superpower, about the harnessing of different energy, storing it and consuming it. Those are pretty interesting things. And this morning at Park Avenue, we had an exciting little morning before school hours. The Warwick Humane Society came and brought some of the kittens there. I really couldn't tell if they were playful or violent. They were all over each other. But certainly the kids in our volunteer club, which is a group that works together with our student council, those children were super excited and really had so many interesting questions to ask of the Humane Society. And they're actually spearheading a fundraising, and they're collecting donations for the Humane Society, things like canned cat food and dog food, and all of the other things that you're accustomed to with this type of drive. So that was pretty exciting this morning. I really want to thank Mrs. Canfield and Mrs. Bueling for kind of spearheading that.
Congratulations to both Sanfordville and Park Avenue for collecting hundreds of Valentine cards and letters and notes that they put together, and we sent boxes off to Senator Scoofus's office as well as Congressman Ryan's office to give out to veterans through the local organizations, to Castle Point and some of the local nursing homes. It was well received, well appreciated, and that they know how much their school community cares and respects them all. Also, our Pi community was involved in an Angel Bakers program which is a nationwide program where they actually adopt a soldier and send baked good care packages to soldiers all across the country and world. The location could not be disclosed, but our students met together in the cafeteria and decorated 4 dozen cookies to be sent off to soldiers. So they were happy to be able to help and to give a sweet treat. And things are getting in full swing as the Sanfordville Drama Club is getting ready for their performance of Jungle Book Kids, which will be on April 29th at Sanfordville with an 11 o'clock and a 1 o'clock show. So certainly come out and have some fun with us.
Over at Park Avenue, we completed our annual readathon, which really strives to have families read along with their students at home and anywhere else. This year we raised $18,000 as part of that readathon, so we're pretty excited. And we're going to have a little dance-a-thon party, or readathon party, dance party rather, for the kids that help raise all of that money. And that's on March 9th. Sanfordville is having their readathon between March 28th and March 31st.
And speaking of reading, both schools did participate in the One School, One Book project, which is their PARC program, where both schools, everyone in the school, all grades, families, teachers, all read the same book over 2 or 3 weeks. And it was a bear called Paddington, and there were different activities for kids to do at school as well for families at home. So it was definitely a fun time, and it was a connection where there could be real conversations and morning announcements about the book that everyone was reading at the same time. And just to add to that, we were both very excited, both Park Avenue and Sanfordville, to be able to contribute to the Snow Day Fund as well. Thank you for airing our videos. The kids and the families were very excited about that.
Looking ahead, planning is underway for our 4th grade work with the Warwick Historical Society, which will be taking place. They're doing a lot of work with our K-3 classes already, but 4th grade is doing its June walkabout the town, and that planning is undergoing as we speak. And last, but sort of last for me at least, and certainly not least, our 4th graders are visiting the middle school. Park is visiting March 22nd, and Sanfordville is visiting on March 21st. So the kids are super excited about that.
Yes, they are.
Scratch all of that.
And March 10th will end the second trimester for our elementary students. So we're celebrating a little pause and raw fun that day. Sanfordville will be participating in a game show, and there'll be an evening game show for students and parents in the cafeteria, and Park Avenue will be having their movie night. And then we have our spring break, and when we return from spring break, we'll be inviting parents in for parent-teacher conferences on April 12th and 18th.
Thank
I can't
you.
believe it's almost spring. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jordan Anthopoulos. I'm the principal of the middle school, and
I'm Chris Radon, one of the associate principals.
and they said everything we were going to say. So we'd like to start off and talk about our MAC program, some of the work that they've been doing. Our MAC program is the continuation of the PI program. The students are in a class that's with 5th and 6th graders, and they recently finished up a deep dive into tyrannical laws and how their effect they have on a group of people. They started studying the Revolutionary War, the Declaration of Independence, created lots of deep conversation, and they decided they were going to create their own kingdoms with corresponding egocentric laws. And from there, they started, their little uprisings began to occur between the citizens of their newly developed kingdoms. So they started developing their own declarations of independence, and they looked deeply at the Declaration of Independence and the language that was used, and they created their own declarations of independence and presented them to their classmates, and it really created deep discussion about how laws and government affect the people that are living under them. So that's some work that our math teachers have been doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about science. We've been focusing a lot with our science teachers and our science curriculum. Some changes have been brought down by the state, and we're really looking at developing students' experience experiences with different investigations. Our 6th grade students are diving into their weather units and learning about weather systems, storm patterns. They're looking at weather maps, which is a new component for 6th grade, and comparing different weather maps and making conclusions and analyzing what the maps are representing and bringing. So we're really excited about the work that our 6th grade science students are doing. Our 7th grade science students are doing similar things, but on different topics. Recently, they were looking at the study of osmosis and looking at the difference in movement between freshwater and saltwater molecules into carrot cells and how that impacts the carrot. So that was really exciting. One thing that my colleagues Jonna and Bill spoke about what happened with Valentine's for Vets. We also celebrated Valentine's for Vets and had students make cards, but we also invited some of our local veterans that fought in the Vietnam and Korean Wars to come in and speak to all of our students in grade 5 through 8. And it was really a wonderful experience for the kids to have some one-on-one time with the veterans and talk and learn more about their experience in the armed forces. So we were very grateful for them to come into the building and share their time with our students. And we're looking forward to inviting them back in May for a Memorial Day Veterans Breakfast out on the lawn. Hope to see all of you there. I'm going to hand it over to Chris to talk about some extracurriculars that are happening.
Yeah, so before I just give an update, when I started here in 2019, if you ask anyone, my favorite part of the day was after school. This was when I was a student here, and when I got here, recognized the academic success of our students here at Warwick, but I've always thought our extracurriculars and after school is just second to none. So it was sad to see it go away, but I'm so happy to report that it's fully back. And if you come to our school during unit lunch or after school, you'll see just that. So our band, orchestra, and chorus all have different sort of honors programs that they put on during unit lunch and after school. Our modified athletics is in full swing. Our winter sports season had boys and girls basketball as well as wrestling. And I really want to make note of some of our outstanding athletes that went up and played at the junior varsity and varsity level in sports such as swimming, alpine skiing, and even some of them ended up on the JV varsity wrestling team. Our newest extracurricular that just came back is something called Newscast. Newscast is a really cool club that we have where we take some of our students of each grade level and they get brought up to the high school to Wild Cuts. Oh, is that right? Wild Cuts? What is it? Wild Cuts Salon? Wild Cuts Salon. And they get their hair and makeup done, and then they get brought into the studio, and they get updates on all the great things that are going on in our school, and they put out a really nice video. And it's a nice way to really promote that program in the high school. And we had 4 students do it just about a week or 2 ago. It came out outstanding. So really excited to have that back.
And I would just like to interject that club came back as per request of our current senior class, who did it when they were in the middle school, and they wanted that opportunity to be afforded to the younger students in the middle school so they could have that experience. One young lady in particular, it changed her mind as to what she wanted to do for a living. Now she wants to go into film, and all because she had a 30-second clip on a newscast when she was in 7th grade. So it was really exciting when they came to us and asked us to bring it back. So we're excited about that one.
So cool, really cool. Our literary magazine club put out their fall edition. This is another great example of awesome opportunities that unit lunch offers our students because they meet during that extended lunch. So you walk in there and you have students who are on athletics that probably wouldn't be able to attend after school, but since it's offered during that extended lunch, they can. And they put out some really great work. The students are really challenged to use everything they're learning in class, but put their personal twist on it. And when you read it, it's outstanding. Some of the students, when you walk through, are very excited and they high five and say hi, and others are very, shy. So when you see some of the stuff that those shy students put out, I just think it's really awesome. Coming up, we have a lot of exciting stuff. Next week, we have our Foreign Language Week, which we are super excited about. I'll probably spend the most time on that because it is next week. Our Foreign Language Week is really becoming an exciting time in middle school. We have different activities throughout the week. Every day, we have some students from the different languages come and do morning announcements. We have our 5th and 6th grade students work on different activities during their advisory periods, such as coloring their own flag and kind of researching some of their background. Our 7th and 8th grade foreign language students will go into those advisories and kind of give a little bit of a sales pitch, I guess, I like to call it, a 2 to 3 minute overview of the program, some highlights, and kind of try to sell that language. We have some awesome performances coming in for each language. We have some dancing, some singing. That'll be next week in the gymnasium. We're gonna have the 5th and 6th grade all together, 7th and 8th grade together, which is always neat when you get that many students in one spot. And then it's culminated at the end of the week with our food extravaganza. My favorite part, I guess, right?
Always remember.
All right, Foods of the World, our food department gives different foods throughout the week, but then our PTA sponsors some really cool desserts from local businesses that highlight some food from around the world. We have our incoming 5th graders coming very soon. Want to highlight one piece of that really gets us excited is our Wildcat ambassadors take a part in that. Our Wildcat ambassadors are students that are just outstanding, and they go through a leadership program over the summer, and we put them to work that night. And really, they run it. They answer questions for the parents from the students' view, and then we give them groups of parents and kids to show around. So this is the kids portion. They'll walk the kids around. Later on, we have parents come. They'll do the same exact thing. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up. We have a combined concert at the high school on March 28th. We have our spring modified sports starting up, which is always super excited. That'll be at the end of the month. And our middle school drama production will be putting on one of my favorites, the Newsies. Anyone see the Newsies? Newsies? There you go. All right. So they will be on the weekend of April 21st, and they had a really neat experience on Monday. The cast had an opportunity to go to the high school and meet with the Broadway star Donna Favino. Mr. Vino was the original young Cosette, and Les Mis has performed in Hairspray in 2019-2020 Broadway Revival National Tour of Cats, and is also known for performing as Alphaba in Wicked on Broadway. I didn't get to go. I saw videos. She was outstanding. Some of the high school, I'm sure, will report as well, but that is some of the stuff we have to do. Thank you.
Mr. Rada, you did a nice job for your while now.
Thank you very much. I asked them to do me a shave in there, Coach Garcia. They said they would.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marguerite Fusco, principal at the high school, and my team here with Erin, Phil Lewis, and Chris Harbonex, Tarantino. Sorry, Chris Tarantino right here. So just to let you know, in February, when the second semester starts, that starts our scheduling season, and our counselors have been going into classrooms, meeting with the 9th and 10th graders, and they've been setting up meetings with the 11th grade families to discuss their senior year plans, college plans, getting them ready for that. So it's scheduling season. It's a big time, and it usually takes a couple of months to get from the beginning to the end of the process. So that's one big thing that has started at the high school.
So March is always one of my favorite times of the school year because we have all these wonderful 5-day weeks in a row, so we get a lot of meat and potatoes done. So I say it's time to get stuff done and have some fun, so we're really taking advantage of that. In our CTE program, we have Mr. Ciccone actually working with the middle school to produce a digital monthly newsletter. Ms. Patello is taking her cosmetology classes to the International Beauty Show on March 7th. And Mr. Avila and his students went to visit the Orange County Emergency Services Response Center. The students got to see the 911 centers, speak to dispatchers, and they got to see the Criminal Investigation Center and the operations of the Emergency Management Center. In world languages, they're getting ready for the APPL exam. That's the AAPPL exam, which is a competency exam for the students in Course 1 and Course 3. They go through listening and writing skills as well as presentation skills. One of the things that both foreign language and ELA are working on, so I know Dr. Leach had mentioned New York State's looking beyond these exams. So what does that look like in the beginning stages at the high school level? It's the seal of biliteracy and the seal of civic readiness. So they're working now in conjunction with the ELA department and world language on the seal of civic readiness. So they're working on that application process. And one of the things that are coming up with the ELA department is the seal of biliteracy symposium. We have 60 students. So on March 9th, they're going to present some ELA assignment or project that they've done before, like a research paper, a poem. Think of it as kind of like defending a dissertation to a panel of adults, where that's one of the examples of how we're looking at different directions other than previous exams. In history, we had our 10th grade classes. Mike Molesky's going to come in and do his presentation on hate is not welcome here, which is discouraging hate speech related to anti-Semitism and racism. They're also working on the Seal of Civic Readiness. This is our first year doing that. So there's things around presenting projects and other options beyond just taking a test. In our math and computer science classes, we're currently have a new course called cybersecurity, where students are looking at network security. So they're actually tasked with developing codes to protect a fictitious facility, water facility, from cyber attacks. So they work on dealing with like small attacks day to day, and then learn how to manage the whole system from there. And also, Ms. Howard has been implementing a career exploration piece in her Algebra 2 class. So this month she has the mayor coming in to talk to the class, both about being the mayor and being a local store.
Yeah, the mayor actually, he came in today and I got to sit on it for a little bit. It was really cool because he's also a business owner and he was talking about how math shows up in the village hall and also shows up in his business. So the students were really engaged and were asking some really insightful questions. So it was cool to see. Our science teachers, they work really hard to give our students hands-on experiences through these lab-based activities and a lot of field trips as well. So our eighth environmental science students more recently went to a sewage treatment plant, and they also have an upcoming trip to a wind farm. And through these trips, it kind of makes that connection between the content that they're learning in class and how that relates to what actually happens outside the classroom. So the science teachers do a really good job of bridging that for students. Our art and music department, they're just always creating something or preparing for something. So right now, we actually had a handful of students, whether it was through writing or music or art, submit projects to the PTA Reflections Contest. And we actually had a couple winners who are advancing to the next round, which is the New York State round. So one of our students is actually in the photography category, and they have this really cool photograph of someone playing guitar. And then we have another student who is in the visual arts category, and she did this gorgeous painting. So we're excited to see how they do in the New York round. Our technology class, the electric car class, so our first semester students, they fully built the car and they got to test drive it. And on this new semester, a whole new group of students come in and they get to disassemble the car, and then they work to rebuild it, and then this process starts all over again. Ms. Colgan's class, they recently tapped a bunch of trees to collect the sap, and they're going to turn that into syrup. And then they're also in the process of growing potatoes that they're then going to turn into French fries using our new culinary room. And then for some extracurricular activities that we have going on, we have students who are gearing up for spring sports, which start on March 13th. We also have our spring musical, Xanadu, which is being performed on the 17th and the 18th. We also have the performance for senior citizens on the 16th. And we have students who have submitted PSAs related to bullying, vaping, alcohol, and drug abuse to the Warwick Valley Prevention Coalition for their annual contest that kind of raises awareness and also discourages these behaviors. So the winning PSAs are actually going to be celebrated at the Red Carpet Gala, which is on Friday, March 24th. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention that I think came up before, which was the combined band concert, which is going to be at the end of the month on the 28th. I knew, so I hadn't heard of it before, but I was talking to Ms. Schaefer about it, and she kind of gave me an interesting anecdote. She said that what she's heard from the high school students is that they, at maybe one point, were kind of like, I don't know if I want to play this instrument anymore. And when they went to the combined band concert and got to perform and then watched the older kids perform, it kind of changed their mind about it. And she said that she has a lot of students that say that the reason that they're still in band is because of that concert. So I'm actually really excited to go to that one. And I think that's all for that.
Thank you. If we could just very briefly, I know we talked about the Seal Civic Readiness, and I think the board is aware of it at the high school level, of the work. But I also understand that there's planning and some work taking place at the middle school level. And I know this is certainly a goal of the district to continue to make progress in that area. And I wonder if Georgiana, you could comment on that?
Yes, so in order to earn the seal of civic readiness as a high school senior, there are certain criteria that you have to accumulate. And one part is that there is a project that you can do at the middle school level that will give you 1 credit towards this seal of civic readiness. So we are currently working with our 7th and 8th grade ELA and social studies teachers to develop a capstone project, if you will, that is a combination of it's humanities, of looking at different civic-minded issues and having our middle schoolers research them and come up with a plan of action in regards to that civic topic. So we're in the beginning stages. Teachers are on board. We're very excited about the work. We've met a number of times throughout the year, and we're looking forward to launching that next year for our 8th graders.
Thank you.
No problem.
And that's all administration.
Well, thank you, everybody, for those thorough presentations. We appreciate it. And the board would not discourage you inviting us for any of that food stuff you always talk about. Just kidding. All right, moving on to reports from the Board of Education. Advocacy, local care funding, OSPA, NISBA.
Bill May.
Bill May, well, I know he's under the water.
Yeah.
He could probably make the OSPA meeting.
Okay.
Audit. And we're going to plan an audit meeting when?
Question, probably April or May.
Okay. Policy?
We're scheduling our next meeting for March 8th, assuming we're answering. Okay. To which one?
Facilities?
That's probably the same time period before summer, we might have a meeting, talk about the summer projects.
And the only notable item there that I would mention that is probably garnering a lot of interest is the football field and track. And we're on schedule to have that completed and have the space available for graduation. That's certainly been the goal. So they're out there now. Unless there's something that really unexpected occurs with Mother Nature, we plan on meeting that deadline.
And the backup plan?
If there had to be a contingency plan, we have a relationship with Orange County Community College, to make that happen. That would be a contingency plan, but we think it's unlikely that we'll need to use that space.
Perfect, so far, we're very happy with that.
Well, that's good to hear, given some of the issues we've had with other contractors. To hear you actually say that they're happy with the contractor, smile. So, excellent.
Yeah, and the facilities, I would also add, I know we're going to have a meeting soon, during the next month or so. At least, significant work done this summer. Roofing work in Sandersville, for example, is likely park to be used for summer programming. The high school is going to have significant roofing work as well. So, program would likely be moved to the middle school summer program, that kind of thing. More or less because of the order up at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Health and wellness?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Bob.
And did you want to comment on health and wellness a little bit too, Cindy?
Sure, I just have a quick report on our wellness committee is going to be planning for the upcoming meeting next week. And there's been a little buzz on people guessing who our guest speaker is. We've had guesses that it's Mr. Radon. I told them it is not Mr. Radon. We had a guest who's our athletic director, Coach Cerrigo. I said it's definitely not Coach Cerrigo. So I will do a big reveal now to this room only, and I know we will keep it a secret, that the special presenter is Sue Abel, our athletic trainer, and she will be reviewing and presenting on the benefits of stretching, as well as the benefits of hydration. And she will be demonstrating different techniques, which is something great for our learners to learn while they're young, and I'm sure older guests the committee will also love hearing about stretching and hydration. Two things I'm horrible with both of them actually. Then we will have a final presenter with healthy snacks, and our food service administrator, Ms. Helmrich, will be talking about what healthy snack offerings we have here in our own cafeterias, and then we will do a little presentation with our nurse coordinator, Heather, and her student teacher nurse presenting on some healthy snack ideas. So please keep a secret, special guest. That will be happening next week after school. Thank you.
Don't worry, your secret's safe.
I can't keep secrets, I'm sorry.
Okay, student member, Mr. O'Connor, what's going on?
Thank you, guys. I know we already heard enough about the seal of civic readiness, but I am a student that just did the project, so I feel like I might as well bring it up. It was really interesting. Every senior who is taking AP Gov, and Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Nelson have made a big push for all of us to try to get the seal. We had to choose a policy issue that we felt passionate about. We had to write a 7-page research paper, which was grueling at times, and then do a 10-minute presentation on it. And kids did everything from prison reform to climate change. And I think it's good because it prepares us for what we're going to have to do in college. That's a run-of-the-mill assignment in some classes. And it's something that I've never had to do before, an in-depth research on anything. I did it on U.S. reliance on Middle Eastern oil. So some of the presentations were boring, like mine. Some of them So that's an academic angle on...
It doesn't say much for us, but some of us actually find that interesting. I'm one of them, so I'd like to talk about that.
Some other stuff that connects to the middle school and elementary schools, and I think it's good that the high school students make such an effort to do this. For example, we just held the elective fair, which middle schoolers came up and they got to look around high school and look at all classes. I volunteered there to show off my class that I'm very passionate about, communications, and it was funny to see all these middle schoolers that I used to be just look at robots and forensic science and cameras and art and all that stuff that you don't have the opportunity to do in 8th grade. And then one day you're in high school and you can do whatever you want, and Warwick does a really good job of that. Something from the club angle, the Spanish club, which was just started this year, has started going down to the elementary schools. I'm not sure how often, but I know they do it, and teaching kids Spanish. And however little it is important, because I think learning a second language at that age, first of all, is just easier when you're younger, and it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities once you're older. I think everyone should speak at least 2 languages. Not that I do. It would be nice if I could. The boys basketball season and the girls basketball season just finished up last night, unfortunately, but both of them had great runs, getting knocked out in the semifinals of the section championship. The boys basketball team had one of their best seasons in recent memory. They had their first playoff win in 16 years, and they lost in an overtime battle to Middletown in Middletown. Heartbreaking, but we're rallying around them, and it's been great to see and watch them all season. The girls had a similar story last time, but it was great to see. Speaking of the girls basketball team, Paige Girardi, captain of the team, just hit 1,000 points for her high school career, which is just
She was nominated for National
Player of the Week.
And not that I have any first-hand knowledge of this, but you could vote more than once. You kept on refreshing. But I think the other kid may have had a bot or something, because it was thousands and thousands of votes. But she came in second. She came in second in the nation, and now we have 10,000 votes or something.
I've been friends with Paige for years. It was awesome to see, especially that milestone. Some other stuff with athletics, there's a lot because our school does a good job. We actually just had a college signing day for certain athletes. Drew Warner committed to Wagner for kicking and football. Shelby Spencer committed for cross country at Cambridge University. Jesse Abramson, who's plastered on the wall in his swim trunks, just committed to Fordham for swimming. And even after signing on to a big school, a great university with a scholarship, he still then broke a school record the next week. which is a reflection on culture and coaching in the school. He didn't stop trying even once he had everything figured out. And Julia Sink committed to the University of Buffalo for track and field. We also just had Joey Grass, our quarterback this year. He won New York State Student Athlete of the Year for football, which is amazing. He's been my best friend since kindergarten, so it's a big deal for me. We also just had student Sam Ferrugia. He got into the CIA, the cooking one. And we do have Zayna do the musical later this month on the 17th and 18th. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Connor. Any college?
For me?
What's next for you?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about college for?
Oh, well,
I didn't know
there's
you had
decisions
a
coming in left and right. It can be stressful at times, but I feel like my grade is doing a good job of supporting each other. There's Sophia Roldan just got into the music school at NYU, which is a super selective program. A girl in my class in communications had to make her a video explaining why she should get in. There's a lot of success stories like that going on right now, and it's awesome to see my friends that I've known since I was 5 getting into their different schools. So, good luck. And good luck to everyone.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Leach for a recommendation of the superintendent of schools.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel and CSE agendas.
Second.
That was Dory and Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. I would like a motion to approve the CSE memorandum of agreement as it appears on the agenda.
So moved.
Lynn and Dory. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the lease renewal for Ingrid Lucas as it appears on the agenda.
So moved.
Bob and Dory. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to accept the donation of $7,000 from the New York Jets for the startup of the girls' flag football team. Dory?
Second.
Lynn? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the inclusion of a bus purchase proposition at the annual school district meeting and election as it appears on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Lynn and Bob. Any discussion? I will ask our board clerk to take a roll call vote.
John Garcia,
Aye.
Robert Harrell,
Aye.
Lynn Lillian,
Aye.
Daniel Mahoney,
Aye.
Dory Macefield, Keith Parsons.
Aye.
There being 6 votes in favor and 0 opposed, the motion is carried.
Thank you. I would like a motion that the resolution regarding the 2023-24 budget vote, election of Board of Education members, and propositions to voters be adopted as it appears on the agenda. Dory?
Second.
And Lynn? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the resolutions appointing election personnel and pay rates as they appear on the agenda. John and Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Business to transfer funds as they appear on the agenda. Dory? And Dan? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to to approve the resolution to ratify the execution of the district certification form for submission of the district's Section 3012D Annual Professional Performance Review APPR Plan to the State Education Department as it appears on the agenda. So moved. John? And Dory? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the Warwick Valley Teachers Association Memorandum of Agreement as it appears on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Lynn and Bob. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. I would like a motion to adopt the Warwick Valley Central School District 2023-2024 student calendar as it appears on the agenda. Dory? And Lynn? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the resolution for sports shadowing agreement with the Florida Union Free School District for the 2023-24 school year as it appears on the agenda. The students will participate as a separate team under the shadowing rules of Section 9 OCIAA and the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. So moved. John?
Second.
And Dan? Any discussion? All in favor? Are we in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve the resolution as it appears on the agenda to nominate Martha Boger and Lawrence Berger as candidates for a seat on the Orange and Ulster BOCES Collaborative Board. So, no motion? So, okay. I would like a motion to approve a field trip for the Warwick Valley High School AP Environmental students to travel to the IWS Materials Recovery Facility in Bronx, New York on Thursday, March 16, 2023, pending the submission of all required paperwork. Lori and John? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve a field trip for the Warwick Valley High School AP Environmental students to travel to Keystone Sanitary Landfill in Dunmore, Pennsylvania, and Waymart Wind Farm in Waymart, PA on Monday, April 17th, 2023, pending the submission of all required paperwork.
Second.
And Lynn? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve a field trip for the Warwick Valley Middle and High School Mandarin Chinese classes to travel to New York City on Friday, April 28, 2023, to visit the Metropolitan Museum of Art pending the submission of all required paperwork.
So moved.
Bob and Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve a field trip for the Warwick Valley High School Journalism 2 students to travel to Yankee Stadium, Bronx, New York on Friday, April 28, 2023, pending the submission of all required paperwork.
So moved.
Dory and Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve a field trip to the Warwick Valley High School You? Didn't want to butcher that. Not good with Greek letters. I'm not good with Greek letters. You Alpha Theta students to travel to Hershey, Pennsylvania on Friday, May 12, 2023 for STEM Day, pending the submission of all required paperwork.
So moved.
All right, we're going to go with John and Lynn. Any discussion?
Yeah, they can bring us a second truck.
Oh, let's talk about food time. I'm sure you can probably tag on.
I think it's vegan, Bob.
Well, that's our discussion. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. I would like a motion to approve a field trip for the Warwick Valley High School Meister Singers to travel to Allentown, Pennsylvania at Dorney Park on Friday, May 12, 2023 to participate in the music festival, pending the submission of all required paperwork. Lori and John. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, I will at this point in time open it up to any old business that the board might have. Okay, at this point in time, we will take comments from residents. If anybody wishing to address the board on any non-agenda item. Now is the time to do that. Okay. All right, we'll follow up. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Bob and Larry. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried.